Debunking the debunker. That's right. This part, the Reformed Apologetic, he goes into son of Ham or son of Shem. And it's kind of confusing, but hopefully I can bring some understanding to what he was trying to do. All right. So he had to deal with the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. So we're going to go ahead and read it in its entirety.
The Zondervan Bible Dictionary states that Ham was the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes.
All right. Now notice we have to focus on the dark races at this point.
Not the Negroes, but the Egyptians,
The Egyptians,
Ethiopians,
the Ethiopians,
Libyans,
the Libyans,
and Canaanites.
and Canaanites. Now let's see how the Reformed Apologetic answer this question in his documentary. Okay.
Although fake black Israelites quote an outdated and mistaken Zondervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary to say that Ham did not produce the Negroes, the fact is that book nowhere says the Negroes come from Shem. In fact, this book denies that and says Shem was the progenitor of the Semitic race.
Now notice, he just said that nowhere in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary did it say that the black people came from Shem. See, that's a Jedi mind trick. Let me tell you why. Because it did say, he want to say, well, throughout the documentary, he said, well, the Egyptians or so-called Negroes, they don't have straight hair. The Negroes are not light brown, and these are something that you imply when you refer to something else. He goes into no Negro features. He also says that the Zondervan Bible Dictionary is outdated, and most of all, the Egyptians are not black. Now let's look at this again. If we already know that the Zondervan Bible Dictionary says the progenitor of the dark races. That's table that. Let's just really think about that. Dark races. Got an S at the end of that. That means all the ones that's mentioned is considered a dark race of people. Now, why this is important is because throughout the documentary, you're going to see that he's trying to move the Egyptians away from dark people. That's what he's trying to do. Now, we accept that we are a dark race of people. We are. But the problem we have is when you're trying to make it based upon shades of color, whether or not a person is dark enough to be in that group. That's ridiculous.
And it's also kind of contradictory because we know that Ham is a progenitor of dark races. And he himself says that Negroes come from Ham, but the Zondervan is outdated and got it wrong. So if the Negroes are dark and come from Ham, and so are the Egyptians, are you saying the Zondervan Bible Dictionary has it wrong by saying the Negroes are not from Ham, and they also have it wrong that the Egyptians are from Ham? So where is he saying the Egyptians are from? He's still saying the Egyptians are Hamites.
Exactly.
And if you're going to say that, then you got to understand that if the Negroes are Hamites and they're dark, the Egyptians and Ethiopians and Libyans and Canaanites are dark as well.
But he don't want to give up the Egyptian. So I tell people this is not checkers, this chess. So that's what we're playing right now.
A game of chess is like a sword fight. You must think first, right? Before you move, style.
That's right. You got to think first before you move. So where are the Negroes from? Now, he keeps saying the Negroes are Cushites. He's going to say it throughout. He said it throughout his video. Negroes are Cushite. Negroes are Cushites. Negroes are Cushites. Well, you sure that's his move? All right, let's hear it from him. Are blacks Cushites? Are they Ethiopians?
Black Israelites claim they descend from Noah's son Shem. Shem's son Arphaxad was the ancestor of the Hebrews and Israelites. The question is, if Arphaxad's later Hebrew and Israelite progeny were indeed Negroes, as fake black Israelites claim, we will demonstrate they were not. Now Noah had another son named Ham, and Ham's son Cush was actually the true ancestor of the Negroes or Africans, including fake black Israelites of today.
Now notice, he just said that Ham's son Cush is the progenitors of the fake black Israelites. I told you he's going to use that word. He's going to say that. He said it over and over again. Now, if Ham is the progenitor of all the dark races, then Cush is the brother of Egypt, the Egyptian or Mizraim. Okay? Now, that's his move. His move is the Negroes are Cushites or Ethiopian. And I said, hey, you sure that's your move? Is that your move? That's where you want to put that. Okay. If that's what you want to put, all right. Check this out. Checkmate. Ethiopian Jews.
Boom.
But what can you say? Checkmate. Ethiopian Jews.
Got him! Got him!
Now, see, this is why this guy's scholarship is poor. He didn't remember the Ethiopian Jews. Now, I'm not even saying that we're going through the Ethiopian Jews. I accept the Ethiopian Jews simply because that's what I'm trying to tell you. They're dark races of people who are Israelites. And you trying to conclude only one group of people. And that's where we are going astray. We're wrong. Now, let's really get into what he tried to use as his scholarship of proving that the black people were only from Cush. Okay?
European imperialism makes the rules. So this is scientific concepts. It says the first scientific attempts to classify humans by categories of race date from the 17th century.
Hold on. 17th century. Remember on the first part, I said we have to realize what was going on during that period of time. Well, guess what? Cattle, slave trade of human beings. That's exactly what was going on at that time. So in order to make it right, they got to come up with these theories to make this separatism between shades of color.
So again, the first scientific attempts to classify humans by categories of race date from the 17th century. Along with the development of European imperialism and colonization around the world. The first post-classical published classification of humans into distinct races seems to be by Francois Bernier, Nouvelle, and New Division of Earth by the different species or races which inhabit it, published in 1684.
During slavery, these are the groups he came up with. Caucasoid, Africazoid, Mongoloid, American, and Australian Lord.
So my question is, what makes you the author of trying to distinct people and classify them
Exactly.
by race when we already know who we are?
Exactly. So, let's talk about him real quick.
So Francois Bernier developed a racial classification system in his New Division of Earth by the different species or races which inhabit it. He declared in this paper that the Native Americans, North Africans, and South Asians have little physical dissimilarities from Europeans other than their dark skin.
Hold on a minute. They're not like them. They're not like them. Other than the dark skin. Now, notice he said other than their dark skin. Continue.
He is counted as one of the first anthropologists to specify race using physical characteristics.
Now, I want to stay on that dark skin, okay? Now, if you look at the top left-hand corner, you have a Tasmanian. That brother is black. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to call him black. Then, on to the right corner, you have true Australian indigenous people. They're black with curly hair. Then, At the bottom left, you have an Asian group of people. Look how dark their skin is. And then you have the American, what we call a native. This is before the Europeans came in and really started race mixing. Now, what is black? See, that's the problem. We trying to get everybody else to identify what the word black is. Let me tell you what black is. Black is nothing but a Jedi mind trick. That's what black is. You trying to use a color or a shade to tell a person what group they're in. And we're no longer accepting that. No longer do we accept the European way of decoding us, putting us in groups or whatever. We're going to be our own thinkers from now on. Now, he used the thing Negroid features. Now, if you can look right here, I Googled Negroid. That was one of my questions that I had for him. I said, if you just Google Negroid features, you have a lot of group of people. If you can look right here, Negroid feature has nothing to do with shades. Some have a narrow nose. Some have a wide nose. Look at the curly hair on this white man right here. He's a known actor. Everybody know Obama is mixed. Look at Obama. Look at this queen right here. Look at this person. Look at her full lips. But I guarantee you, if she was walking around, no one would call her black. See, that's the reason why I'm saying that word black or Negro features, it's not associated with just one group of people if we all come off the continent of Africa. Here's another one. I just Googled black Caucasoid. Look at those white features on these people. Right here, got a white man and a black man. Narrow nose. Now, tell me something. If science has proven that everyone came off the continent of Africa, then we all Africans. So we all black. The difference is we have melanin, other have lack thereof melanin. And we're going to get into that. All right. So let me move forward. Here's another half-truth, and you'll see why in a minute.
Modern high-level scholars affirm that Ham's son Cush was indeed the progenitor of the Negroes. For example, in his study of ancient peoples in the work From Every People and Nation, biblical scholar J. Daniel Hayes observes, the Cushites were clearly black African people with classic Negroid features. Thus, Ham's son Cush was indeed the progenitor of the Negroes. Noah's son Shem was not. The same work goes on to explain. W. Hayes writes in the Cambridge Ancient History that the art of Egypt clearly identified the Nubian Cushite group as Negro. Other physical features are discussed in the ancient sources as well. The Cushites were described as having not only black skin, but also flat noses, thick lips, and woolly hair.
All right. Before I get into, saying what I'm about to say, I wanted to say this real quick. Reading comprehension. Telling a half-truth is a whole lie. That's it. Telling a half-truth is a whole lie. Now, we're going to get into his scholar. And I don't have nothing against the scholar. But I have everything against the interpretation of how someone interprets what someone else has written. So, silence on race issue. So, let's read that from the top.
Okay, so this is an insert from the book by J. Daniel Hayes in which Apologetics quoted. It says, the silence on the race issue among evangelical scholars, therefore, is gradually being broken, although it is still present in many of the major theological books that our universities and seminaries are using to train tomorrow's leaders. In addition, although helpful articles on reconciliation are being produced, very little serious biblically based exegetical work is being conducted on pages that are relevant to the race issue. This book, which is far from exhaustive, is an attempt to help fill the need for a serious exegetically based study of passages that relate to the race issue. It is subtitled A Biblical Theology of Race because I am also trying to build upon the exegetical work of relevant biblical theology.
Okay, we're going to continue. This is his introduction.
Although there are some significant exceptions, in general, there is silence in white evangelical congregations concerning the biblical teaching on this issue. Within these congregations, the current attitude of many whites often falls into one of three categories. First, some people are still entrenched in their inherited racism. They are interested in the Bible if it reinforces their prejudiced views. Otherwise, they do not care what the Bible says about race. Second, many people assume that the Bible simply does not speak to the race issue, and particularly to the black-white issue. Third, many others are simply indifferent to the problem, assuming that the status quo is acceptable and that the Bible supports their current practices.
Okay.
These views appear to carry over into academia as well. Indeed, evangelical biblical and theological scholarship has continued to remain silent on this issue, even though the indications of the scope of the problem are obvious. Few of our theological training institutions address the race issue, which is rather strange, considering the scale of the problem. Indeed, the traditional systematic theologies used for most of the 20th century did not address the race issue at all. Often, these volumes had entire chapters devoted to philosophical and biblical discussions of anthropology, which is the study of nature of humankind, but they failed to address one of the central anthropological problems within the church today.
All right. Now, notice he's building up here. He's saying that the church is not going to deal with race. And he's like, look, they're not going to deal with race. Even when it's obvious in your face, they're not going to deal with it. Let's continue to see what he had to say.
Likewise, for centuries, in art as well as in other media, the people of Western Europe and North America have portrayed the individuals in the Bible as Europeans or North Americans. Thus, not only does Michelangelo paint 12 Europeans sitting down at a European table for the Last Supper, but the fair-haired American Charlton Heston portrays Moses in the Ten Commandments, and the blue-eyed Britain Richard Harris plays the title role in the TNT's television movie Abraham. Even though most scholars know that few, if any, characters in the Old Testament look much like Charlton Heston or Richard Harris, the average church member, indeed, probably the average pastor, consciously or subconsciously assumes as much. Such images play powerful roles in shaping popular perceptions about the Bible, and these popular perceptions in turn have a serious impact on the theology of the church.
Now, listen, he's telling you these images play a powerful role. So one of the images that plays a powerful role is they're gonna make sure that black people had no contribution in the Bible. None. That's what he's saying. They don't want to discuss it. Why does it matter? But he's saying these images and these Europeans who are pictured in these biblical movies or documentaries, just like
They're shaping the perception.
yeah, you shaping the perception. Now, the Reformed Apologetic did the exact same thing. He used European images to show the Israelites. Mm-hmm. Anytime he was talking about the Israelites, they was all Caucasian. And he knows that the Israelites are not Caucasian. Himself, he said, if anything, they have to be light brown. Well, there wasn't no light brown pictures of them. So, do we really think that Christ looked like this? And he hid in Egypt. Now, this is the problem. You got a white Cleopatra on one side, fake. You got a white King Tut on one side, fake. You got another Nefertiti on this side, fake. And they all are melanated people. And I use the term black. Not because of a shade. I'm not using it black as a shade. I'm using it black as in melanated. So,
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
he's not telling the truth. He used this guy's information and he took it out of context. That's exactly what he did. He only used it as a way of saying, well, African Americans has Negroid features, so therefore in this book I'm going to abstract this part and place it here, and then I'll read it together, and then I'll use the nice term Jedi mind trick, end quote. So the portrayal of black people with Negroid features. That's what he did. That's what he took. Now let's read when he says something just like that.
It says, the most extensive collection of artistic portrayals of the Cushites is the significant work, The Image of the Blacks in Western Art, Volume 1, entitled From the Pharaohs to the Fall of the Roman Empire. This volume contains hundreds of pictures of ancient Egyptian, Greek, and Roman art.
All right, say it again, please. How many? Hundreds of pictures of who?
Ancient Egyptians, Greek, and Roman art, which portray black people with clear Negroid features.
Now, see, what you will do is you will just take out ancient Egypt, you'll take out Greek, you'll take out Roman, and you make sure you keep Cushite somewhere in there. You'll say collective art, artistic portrayal of Cushites, ... with portrayed black people with clear Negroid features. End quote. See, that's lying. That's telling the half truth. But see, let's read on.
Most of the examples mentioned above in the various volumes on Egypt are also included in this volume.
Now, this is some of the images that he was talking about. It's an art museum that you can visit, and these are the images of the blacks in Western art.
Which include Egyptians, Greeks, and what was the other one?
Let's go back and see.
Roman art. Okay.
Rome. And I'm gonna tell you what that means. That means if I was in Rome, I look black.
I'm a citizen of Rome.
If I was in Egypt, I look black. If I was in Greek, I look black.
Greece.
You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. You want to change colors and everything. We have all the spectrum of color.
Like even this picture here of this bust of this clearly African woman or Negro featured woman. She looks like it looks like one of those Roman busts that you see.
Exactly. And then you have the one down here. You're gonna say that's an Arab man, but see he's featured in black Western art.
All right. Many European and American scholars of the 19th and early 20th centuries were blatantly racist.
Blatantly racist. This is coming from his source, his scholar.
This is particularly true concerning early European Egyptologists
That's somebody who studies Egypt, studied Kemet.
who attempted to appropriate Egyptian culture as Western
Western, where we at?
and to distance the Egyptian culture advances as far as possible from any African connections. Scholars today, in general, are much more ethnically sensitive and politically correct.
Right.
But much of the early bias has crept into general, accepted approaches of Old Testament scholarship, and scholars today, somewhat subconsciously, continue to think ethnocentrically, carrying out their scholarship from a clear Anglo-European perspective. Black American scholars such as Felder have tried to point this out, but with only mixed success.
All right. Now, once again, see how I'm giving you more of a full understanding of this scholar
And what he was trying to say.
and what he was trying to say. He used the Cushites as an example of, hey, we cannot doubt that these people are black. And they had a big biblical role in the Bible, which no one wants to talk about. That's exactly what he was saying in parts of his book. So he was clearly saying, you can't get around the Cushites. What are you going to do about them? And he was making it clear. He wasn't trying to identify black people as being Cushites. He wasn't doing it.
He wasn't identifying the Negroes in America
Yeah.
as being Cushites.
He wasn't identifying, trying to say, hey, the Negroes in America are Cushites. He was identifying the racism that was in society dealing with color in the Bible.
So this is defining and determining ethnicity. Defining and determining ethnicity is a complex and controversial, even among contemporary groups where mounds of sociological data exist and live interviews are possible. This problem is illustrated by an argument I overheard years ago between two of my international friends in college. A Palestinian student had remarked to a Somali student that they were Arab brothers. The Somali man objected, stating, "We Somalis are not Arabs." "Yes, you are," the Palestinian argued. "You are a part of the Arab League. You must be Arabs." "You cannot tell me what I am," the Somali countered. "I know what I am, and I am not an Arab." The Palestinian was not convinced. He concluded, "Like it or not, you are an Arab and my brother." Thus, even determining exactly what constitutes the boundaries of the term Arab in today's world can be challenging. Developing precise definitions and distinctions of ethnic groups in the ancient Near East or even within the Hellenistic world can be an even more difficult task, one that falls more properly within the realm.
All right, now listen. He's making a point. He's saying even the people that's part of the culture saying, "Hey, identify myself differently," and you can't say anything different. This is exactly what we're saying right now. We got Gentiles or Europeans, clearly Europeans, trying to tell black people who was brought to the United States of America who we are. Now they trying to tell us who we are. They didn't tell us. They told us we're Africans. You're gonna put us on a whole continent with all those nations, and you ain't clearly say, "Hey, well, we got you from these group of people. This is who you are. This is the tribe. This is But now we figuring out who we are. You trying to do like the guy saying, "Oh, you are Arab." No, I'm not. I am not black. I'm a black American. I'm not an African American. We are Israelites. That's who we are, and that's who we call ourselves. And you got to prove to me, other than these scholars that you're misquoting, that we're something other than that. But I got more proof than that.
Despite the often very best intentions of most white American evangelicals, the complex web of factors explored in this book produce a rather dismal portrait of the realities and prospects for positive race relations among Americans.
Hold on, he says dismal.
Yes.
Dismal. I mean, he like I ain't even gonna get close to it. This is dismal. Go ahead.
Produce a rather dismal portrait of the realities of and prospects for positive race relations among American Christians in the United States. Most white evangelicals, directed by their cultural tools, fail to recognize the institutionalization of racialization in economic, political, educational, social, and religious systems.
Let me stop right there. Now, Deuteronomy 28 does say we're going to be in want of all things. And he just dealt with it. Economics. We as black people in America, the true Israelites, we're dealing with economic issues. We're dealing with political issues. They don't even deal with our problems. We're dealing with educational issues that doesn't even deal with our problems. We're dealing with social illness that doesn't deal with our problem. And right now, today, we're dealing with religious systems issues that doesn't deal with our problems. The fact that I say I'm an Israelite, that I know that I come from the tribe of Judah, now all of a sudden we got problems. All of a sudden, oh man, you're going to hell. But it's funny how if I was just going to church, everybody good. But as soon as I start thinking as a black man, oh, we got problems. Don't let them think. Don't let them think. So,
is this situation hopeless? If white evangelicals continue to travel the same road they have traveled thus far, the future does indeed look bleak.
Let me tell you what that road we're traveling. Not dealing with the race issue here in America and throughout the world. Not coming with real truth when it comes to history. Not dealing with the real economic issues. Not dealing with the real political issues, not dealing with the real educational and social and when it comes to religion issues. The only person that benefits not dealing with any of those things are the person who are in control today. So if we don't deal with it, it ain't because we as black Hebrew Israelites don't want to deal with it. And I'm going to say it's not because the Christian church don't want to deal with it. But guess what? They can't deal with it if they chasing after the money. All right. Now, we're coming to another segment where we're dealing with where Ham Isaac, and Jacob Negroes. Now, let me be honest with you.
Abraham.
I'm sorry. Where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob Negroes. This is redundant. Because once we prove one part, you're really proving them all. But he's trying to mix it up. See, that's once again, that's the Jedi mind trick. But I'm going to roll with him. I'm going to answer this question too. Identity theft.
If a group doesn't fit your narrative, just change their name and location.
That's what we do. That's what we do. Now let's see what he has to say.
Abraham, Jacob, Judah, and Judah's Canaanite wife were thus Asiatics. In the context of ancient Egypt, Asiatic just meant beyond the borders of Egypt and Africa to the east.
Now you hear what he said? He said they was Asian addicts. Well, that's crazy. That's why I said identity theft, all you got to do is deal with, that's just move location. That's make them something other than what they are. If you look at the map, the one he had on his own video, Ham is throughout Africa, well, the part where Egypt and Cush is. Then you got Canaan, part of the promised land. And then you got Shem. He's in all what we consider today the Middle East. Now this is from his own source, Asian addict. That's what he said. Now, the most important saying in real estate is location, location, location. So let's deal with it. The world, according to Islamics. Now, if we see it, it's the same thing. It's the same map. Notice with the yellow, that's Ham. Shem is the blue, and Japheth is the red. Now, we can definitely agree that both maps are the same. Okay, pretty much. Now let's get into the shade colors or the color spectrum. As you can see, from dark to red, and the only reason why I say red is because somebody's skin burns when it comes to the UV rays. And we know the European man, his skin burns due to the UV rays. As you can see, the UV ray index, this is of Africa now. This is Africa, and you can see the regions where we got Egypt and also the Middle East, what you want to call it. Now, if it's 1, 2, 3, if it's 1 and 2, let's read that.
It says you can stay safely outside if you have a UV index of 1 or 2, so there's no protection required.
All right, now let's look. Now we're going. If it's sunny outside, now
But there's no green, so
there's no green over here.
Area.
So that's no green. So we already know that a person cannot stay safely outside at this point.
they can.
When in Africa they can't.
There's no green in Africa. That's the point.
So we can't. They
So
can't
it's
say.
never
They can't,
that low.
Exactly. So they can't say. We can't say they can stay safely outside because there's no green there. Mm-hmm. All right. So we can at least say, just from the lowest point, we're looking at what? 5, 6, 7. So we at 5, 6, 7. Let's read that.
So clearly at 5, 6, and 7, protection is required, and it says seek shade during midday hours. Slip on a shirt, slap on some sunscreen, and slap on a hat.
Now, as you go further down, you'll see we start getting into the 8 and your 9, the different areas.
So extra protection is required with a UV index of 8 through 11.
All right.
Plus.
Now, we do know that Cush was around the horn, so it's purple. And many times black people will see another person who's extremely black. We're like, man, he's so black, they're purple. Now, what I'm saying is no way that someone could see this self. Now, this is what we got a video on how the sun sees you.
For white spray on your side. Better yet, I'll give you an indication.
Now, as you can see in the video, they're being shown through a UV camera, UV lens, and the UV lens show them how their skin is deteriorating due to the rays of the sun. Okay, so when you see that dark look on someone's face, it's because they're Asian. Okay, and obviously this lady is European.
Why you feeling deprived? Will never let lack of an imagination keep
Now
us
look at her.
locked up inside, even when the sun has died. Somehow in the city, it's summer in the city.
That's how the sun sees you.
Somehow in the city, it's summer in the city.
Now the young baby look good. Age speeds up as you get older. Dark skinned person, melanated person. That's a melanated sister. Nothing changes on her. Because she's protected already. This is your sunscreen lotion. So this is white people putting on blackface. That's exactly what it is. They putting on blackface in order to protect their bodies from the sun, so they will not get skin cancer or die early, because the sun is trying to kill them.
So they gotta look like us.
Yeah, so they gotta look like us, but they made sure it went on clean. But the sun see you like, oh, I see you covering up, okay. Look at her saying, that's crazy. I got blackface on. Stay beautiful.
Stay black and beautiful.
Yeah, stay black and beautiful. Yeah, dark skin. Well, he definitely can tan. She's blown away. Yeah, you're African. We your daddy and your mama. Sun killing her. Now, I showed this video to prove a point. I showed this video to let you know that you can't have light people, white people, in what the so-called Middle East because of the sun rays, and it doesn't destroy their bodies. So we're going to go over the sun rays and how it damages you based upon the melanin in your skin.
So number 1 shows a very fair, pale white, often freckled skin complexion. And the UV sensitivity is highly sensitive. It always burns and never tans. And it says the skin cancer risk is the greatest risk of skin cancer. Number 2 shows a fair white skin, and it's very sensitive to the UV rays. It burns easily, and it tans minimally. High risk of skin cancer as well. Number 3 shows a light brown skin person. Their UV sensitivity is set at sensitive. It burns moderately, usually tans, and they have a high risk of skin cancer. Number 4 is a moderate brown skin complexion.
Now let's start right here. Number 4, we automatically know number 4. I ain't seen no Europeans with that shade. They don't wake up. You got a tan to get that shade, and if you tan to get that shade, you really good. You going places like a tanning whatever, and you putting that orange solution on you. So we already know.
So the UV sensitivity is less sensitive. It burns minimally, and it tans well. And it also states that they are at risk of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 is a dark brown skin complexion, and they have minimal sensitivity to UV, rarely burns, and skin cancer risk states that skin cancers are relatively rare, but those that occur have often detected at later, more dangerous stage, increased risk of low vitamin D levels.
Now check this out. By 5, at that they ain't even blue black. They ain't blue black. That's the average, what we would call black person in America. That's average.
Right.
All right.
And then number 6 is a deeply pigmented dark brown to black, which I think is a false picture.
Yeah, because that's not blue black.
So their UV sensitivity is minimal. They never burn.
Never.
And it says the same thing. Skin cancers are relatively rare, but those that occur mainly occurs because they have a low vitamin D levels.
Now, why am I showing this? I'm showing this because of the location. Okay? These are melanated people. This ain't see, when you start using word like Asiatic people, people start thinking 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. That's that Jedi mind trick. Oh, they Asiatic people. Come on, man. Don't do that. They're melanated people. They black people. Because what I'm doing is I'm doing the Jedi mind trick. Because when I say the word black, it's the same thing you saying it. You saying it, but in a negative sense. I'm saying in the sense of those people was not 1 or 2 shades.
Or 3.
Or 3 shades. They shades was 4, 5, and 6. Because they can't, if they burn easily, they can't stay in that region for thousands of years. And we're going to show you that. This is a baby aging over time. Notice the black girl, the process of UV rays, when they're young, you don't see any damage to their skin. As they get older, the freckles come in. That means the sun is damaging their skin. That's where the freckles come in at. Look at this kid over time. All those freckles, more melanated, no freckles, no skin damage. Easily aged when you have no melanin in your skin. Look at that. Look at that black lady. No aging on her skin. That's why we say black don't crack. Look at that. Black don't crack. 87 years old.
Another thing too I want to point out is that you think about the climate and the time that they were living in then. Mm-hmm. They didn't have air conditioning. Mm-hmm. They didn't have sunscreen lotion.
Right.
And even today with the air conditioning and being able to live inside the climate mm-hmm. that we live in and sunscreen, they still age. The sun still mm-hmm. affects them.
Still affect them. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That is a very good point. So this is dealing with Jewish skin cancer on the rise. These are the ones who we're saying that are the people. Well, not me, and not the true Israelites that the Bible speak of, but the Ashkenazi Jewish people. Now these are people in the land. Now they got skin cancer on the rise, and just like my wife just said, even with the fact they got the buildings there, even with the fact they got sunscreen lotion, and everybody know they wear them big old black hats. You know what I'm saying? Those sombreros. That's what the hat for, to make sure that sun don't beat down on them. The black clothes is the same thing. Make sure the sun don't beat down on them. But we're going to talk about the skin cancer that's reported on the rise in Israel.
Okay, so beneath this heading it says, Health Ministry report finds ramp up in invasive melanoma, most markedly among Ashkenazi Jews. The incidence of invasive melanoma, a particularly dangerous form of skin cancer, is on the increase in Israel, the health ministry said in a report released in advance of Skin Cancer Awareness Week on May 19th to the 24th. The report, which is based on data from 2010, shows that compared to 2009, there was a substantial increase among the country's Jewish population in this type of melanoma, which penetrates the top layers of the skin, invading other tissue. It requires more complex medical treatment than melanoma that is confined to the top skin layers.
See, Jewish population, because they're Europeans.
In the course of Skin Cancer Awareness Week, skin examinations...
Hold on. They got a Skin Cancer Awareness Week. Man, and we ain't never had, as black folks here, we ain't never had no Skin Cancer Awareness Week. You know? None. Okay, good. Continue.
In the course of Skin Cancer Awareness Week, skin examinations will be offered free of charge at 300 locations around the country.
300. You know, that's an epidemic right there. That's what they call them, you know, when white people got problems. It's an epidemic, Peter. We need to do something about this. Oh my God. We're dying out here. 300 locations. Wow.
Around the country in an effort to detect growths early. In 2010, a total of 207 Israelis died of melanomas.
207.
But the mortality rate from the disease has declined over the past decade from 2.4 per 100,000 people to 2.2.
That's an issue.
That's not a decline. They probably didn't give birth to that many more people.
They're like, we need to tamper with this data, man. We gotta make sure that people don't know we dying over here over skin cancer from the sun, and we hadn't been here since 1946.
48.
1948. We ain't been here long. Now, how you gonna survive somewhere for thousands of years? They've been wiped out if they was there with that same complexion. Done. And that's not even talking about if they was true Hebrews and went through slavery in Egypt. Oh my goodness. They would have been done. They'd be like, hey, Master, you got some sunscreen lotion at least? Ask Pharaoh to, send out some of that sunscreen. You know what I'm saying? We dying out here.
It says in the same year, just over 1,000 Israelis were diagnosed with invasive melanoma, including 939 Jews, 21 Arabs, and 42 people from other communities.
Mm-hmm.
The incidence of the disease among women in 2010 was 11.2 per 100,000 people, a 21% increase from 2009.
All I'm saying is, how they the people? And I'm trying to give an understanding, because he's saying Asiatic people, and I'm trying to let you know that's not possible. That's not possible they could be Asiatic people. It's not possible. And still survive. We need to stop using these modern day terms for these ancient people.
Right.